What is going on, guys? It's your boy GRC. I've been working out a little more. How you like that? Today we're coming at you live, like we do every single day. I come out live with Sam STOLT, and we're going to be talking about the saga. Richard Hart talks crap about this. I'll literally verbatim the saga for you. Richard Hart calls Zen a scam. Then Jack says things about Richard Hart being inconsistent. And then Richard Hart says Zen's a scam again. And then Jack yesterday mentions some very dangerously interesting things. In the Twitter spaces, which I participated in, Trayvon came in, asked a great question, and it really spun. I was asking about proof of stake, proof of work, of course, and everyone was probably leaving. And then Trayvon came in and he said, is Pulsechain a rug? And then we go from there. But guys, let me bring you back to a few days ago first, when I asked Jack Levin about this very subject. And this was before all of this happened, one day before all of this happened. So let's get context real quick. I asked him about Pulsechain 2 days before today. And let's see what he said. And I posted in the clip, of course. So check out all these clips. All that stuff too much, being that it's just test net, just a test net. But have you thought about that at all? And do you have any excitement in that realm, or are you just kind of waiting on that, like I am?
Well, it's hard to be excited when the founder calls a project a scam project. So that is my initial reaction. I mean, we did launch Zen on the testnet on Pulsechain, and it works great. So, I mean, whatever version it is now, it's working. I think Pulsechain has a lot of very interesting and great developers developing interesting things. But the issue is that the narrative has been changing.
You already know what time it is. Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning. Waiting on phone. Crypto in the morning. 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 Waiting on phone. Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning. Smoking a blunt on my way to the gym. 11 a.m. and I'm already tuned in. Got me some hacks and I'm making a stake. Got me some heads on, I'm making it rain. Pay me some maxi and that just in case. Jim Reddit sent me to show you the way. Crypto in the morning. 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 Crypto in the morning.
What's good, bro? You are staying on top of the drama that is taking place in the community and what's actually going on. But right before the show, you did give a little bit, and there was an update to Pulsechain V3, right? So that will be interesting to get into as well.
It's a testnet update.
Yes, the testing.
And Sam, nothing is drama when there's $1.7 billion piston loaded behind it. I don't agree that. I understand what everyone says the same. It is drama to a degree, but my whole take is the reason I'm covering it is because there's $1.7 billion of my friends' monies sitting in it. Some in separate pools, which we'll talk about later, because they were talking about if the money went back. And I was like, there's pools out there, guys. You can scratch that. USD valuation of the SEC is 16 times lower than it was at the time for the currencies that were in it. That causes another wrinkle. Not that you can't just give less money back, but you can. You could have also swapped it all for stables at the top. I don't know if that's allowed or whatever, but
there's no way he's giving that money back.
Well, no. Well, I know there's no way he was going to switch from proof of work to proof of staking.
but like
this guy's full of let's say crazy things can happen when you're talking Richard Hart. I don't.
We chatted about this last night. I see this as super bullish. Like if we can get several lawsuits of people who donated money to Richard, so, like people who sacrificed for Pulse, people who sacrificed Pulsex. If there's enough people that are that upset that start suing him, that's so bullish. That is so bullish. We're at the depths
Tim,
of the bear
tell
market.
me why this is so bullish to you. And for everyone, it's a little complex. So can we break that down one more step?
Well, what happens in the psychology of people during a bull, like a cycle, right? You go up, 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 and then you peak out, right? And then it starts to come down and it collapses, and then you're in despair, right? And people are just so upset and living their miserable little lives, right? And they see their investments down so much, right? And things happen, right? So when at that point, they're like, oh my God, that's $75,000, that $750,000 of crypto that I donated to that dude I've never met online that didn't have a game plan, that is technically a donation into them. Maybe I fucked up. And then they get pissed and they want to sue.
And it's the opposite of Staker syndrome, Sam. There's Staker syndrome, which we've talked in depth about, and then there's oversack syndrome. So I decided when I had let's say I had $10,000 in my debit account, I think I put about 1,000 if it was a 1 to 10 on that, and I don't think I ever would have cared at the time or now. And I think I put in like roughly 10 grand. So yeah, of course, but that was so long ago, Sam. I've learned so much. I've done so many things. I could care less. And my whole thing is if you stack so much money that you can't sleep proper, that your family relationships are, dwindling down, that your wife wants you dead, frankly, then you need to think about your ways that you're spending your money in general.
How many people would you say donated money between the total number?
We figure that out for the end specific.
Let's just say it's 10,000 people, right? That means that on average.
Hey, chat, hit me with those numbers, please.
That means on average, if it was 10,000 people, there was 190,000 per person that was donated. And you might have put in $1,000 or $10,000 or something, whatever your number was to sacrifice.
Two sacks.
Yeah. So the total number of people between the sacrifices, Pulse and Pulsex, say it's 10,000. Say it's a little higher than that.
Yeah, let's say 10,000. That's fine.
Right. So whatever that number is, like 200 grand to a lot of people is like, holy shit, their stock portfolio is down. Maybe they lost their job. Remember, Google's laying people off, Facebook's laying people off, Amazon's laying people off, Walmart's laying people off. Like there's a lot of like, chaos that's happening in the world right now. We're on like, I think everybody can get the sense that like the fiat system's going to be collapsing relatively soon. All of these things are taking place. The market for crypto's down.
Dude, I heard they could eliminate all debt and reset somehow if they do enough writing on the paper.
But that doesn't mean it's going to benefit.
I know, but like a reset for me and you, not as much. Though, I'm talking like, oh man, imagine the plays, imagine the, arbitrage. That's all I can think about. Like between everyone else going along with whatever they're doing and saying, and then me doing the exact opposite 100% of the time for 24 hours a day and seeing what magic can spin up in that. I know it could be brutal.
I heard a saying that are chaos in Japanese. What does it mean? There's a word.
100K people at 17K average each. But the average is going to be super top heavy with whales. So in general, when you're dealing with any of these crypto,
but this is just like a random number that this person made. Nobody has an actual number like what it is. Like you can estimate what it is, right?
You mean per person what it is? Yeah, per person.
Ryan has no idea. He says 100,000 people, right? That could be an accurate number. It could not be an accurate number. We don't know.
I mean, a lot of these guys have been around talking about.
Yeah, correct. But there's no data to track, so it's an estimate.
You can't track the data on chain.
No, because you have no idea if I have 14 addresses.
Oh, yeah, it's true. Yeah, because I have 7.
Right? So nobody has any actual data.
Damn. Daniel, you're right.
You don't
You're
know.
so right. Well, that's why
sacrifice
it's
to
important to
yourself.
talk through this, though. That's why I like to ask these questions. I don't think he's stupid. I'm stupid, but there's truth. The truth is, there's a few different ways that you can regurgitate certain things in pools to make them look a little different. And I know for a fact, people use a million wallets to do things to make the pools look more fluffy with users. And that is so true, Sam. And I really appreciate you bringing that up because that really helps get straight into this. So remember, Sam, we brought up Jack before this. This was the night the day I talked to Jack, this happened that night. So remember that. I think that's critical to remember. Thank you, Matty All In, for getting him on there and trying to get some transparency out of him. Let's play this, and I want to know Sam's thoughts. When I stop it, Sam, that means it's time to go. Just on this and where we're at in this process right now.
Get ready for Richard Hart.
Keep talking. It's about
I would encourage anybody, if you've never made a testimonial video for Hex, or if you maybe you made one in the past and now you want to update it, you can go to my Telegram group t.me/Hex YouTube, and we'll help get the word out.
So what's up? Are you okay?
Well, both my collarbones got broken, so I couldn't lift
needs
more than
this?
a pound for a while.
That sucks, dude.
Yeah, it was hard.
Could you jerk off, or was it like, nope, probably not? I don't know how many pounds you're working with. You're like, can we remove a rib as well? I got to spend a lot of time in this room alone. We want old Richard back. Black T-shirt. Oh yeah, but I always told bad jokes. So old Richard's here. I have a feeling.
Great.
I have a feeling what people really want is the bull market to return, and that my choice of shirt doesn't actually matter that much. But hey, anything to keep my fans happy.
A touch of truth there from the RH. A touch of truth on the bull market thing. All these guys like Rick, for example. Let me pull up Rick. GRC lives off drama. He cannot do anything else. Literally, I study verbatim white papers and shit all day long and publish it like everything. And Rick is one of those guys that doesn't use his frontal lobe, but he actually uses his mouth, and he sucks. He actually sucks. And there happens to be a big piece of meat in front of his mouth generally. Because you haven't watched the show, I only dive into the detail. He published this. This is the only thing he's published in the last effing 6 months. What am I supposed to do, Rick? Go sack some more and F off. Sorry about that. But hey, Sam, a touch of truth there with when the bull market returns, a lot of these guys go back to square.
That's why I think it's so bullish that like people are like, oh, let's get the sacrifice money back. There's no way that you're getting that fucking money back, period. And second of all, like that, when everybody else is like fighting and doing stupid shit, right? That's the opportunity, because people are like, oh, I'm going to sell this thing. People get emotional. You can always tell when you're dealing with like a child versus an adult. Children make this, and that's independent of their physical age, right? Children make decisions based upon emotions and how they feel. Adults make decisions based upon how they think, their logic, right? And so in the depth of a bear market, people start using emotions and feelings to make decisions. And then for me, that's like super bullish, because I'm like, oh, these stupid clowns, they're getting so irritated. They're so emotional about these decisions that they made, 2 years ago or whatever the case is. I see this thing as bullish. Like I'm super bullish when people get more and more emotional about things and the decisions they make, because when you don't live in that arena of like emotional decision making, it's you have an advantage over everybody else, right? It's like Tiger Woods playing against like high schoolers for golf, or like LeBron James playing against the pickup game down the street, right? It's just like there's no competition, right? There's just no competition because you don't use emotions and feelings to make decisions. You use your head to make decisions. You think logically to make decisions.
Do you think most guys think logically to make decisions nowadays?
I feel as though we have two things going on. At a very macro level, a lot of people make decisions on emotions and feelings. Yet there's like this underswell of people who are starting to think for themselves, starting to take action, starting to utilize their head to think, to make decisions for themselves, to make faster decisions, to stop dwelling, to stop thinking that they feel a certain way and making decisions off of how they feel. Like how
And
foolish.
Sam, you've trained me like a ninja to do that for 6 years straight. And watching me help some of the guys, you know how I help guys? I check them. I check them right in the chest. When I go up and talk to someone, I check them immediately. I say, you don't know what you're talking about, if they don't. And then they get frustrated with me and they start studying. They start studying hard. Watching Heck's famous study, because I piss him off so bad, is one of the greatest things that I can watch, because it's just like me. I get pissed off and I start studying. Like someone checks me and I'm like, damn, I'm not that guy. I just ain't that guy. And I just go hard. And watching guys, and you just mentioned the universal consciousness is changing a hair. It's starting to tilt in a certain way. In your opinion, I couldn't agree with that opinion more. Let's get back to Richard so he can listen to him talk crap about Zen crypto.
Yeah.
So
I've got an interview prepared. I've got a bunch of questions lined up.
Can you lift more than a pound now?
I can, yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, so it's been like 9 weeks since the accident, and I'm starting to get better.
Hey, bro, your healing's going faster than software development. So, I mean, that's something to be happy about, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, software development on Pulsechain is going great. It's just there's so much stuff that people just don't know about. You're like, so, well, you do your thing. I got 3 hours to be chatting with you guys, so I'm not gonna blow my load too early here. We're gonna let Maddie ask some questions.
All right, first question. You told BitBoy you wouldn't follow him on Twitter, even after you two did a in real life live stream together in his Atlanta-based studio, and then went to a concert together.
Yeah.
As a premier thought leader in crypto, who do you follow and why?
I only follow Richard Hart Maximalists. And the reason for that is, here's what happens. People jump into the Hex community, and then they can't be patient. They can't wait. So they start buying things that suck and getting wrecked. And we've seen this again and again and again and again and again. And I'll just list you some of the things that everyone's got wrecked on. There's all these people that have tried to copy Hex that you've probably never heard about, because I wasn't so stupid to tell you about them so that you could wreck yourself. And their coins have all failed or nearly failed. So Hex 2T, which then changed its name to Axion, which then, was that the one that Rug pulled on launch? I think it Rug pulled on launch. And then there was Rex, which had an inflation bug and minted infinite coins. And then there was like Rex 2 and then Rex 3. And then there was like Hex Money, where some like dude who's going to make some gambling thing. And then there was
better not be talking BMVP there, but don't you dare.
Oh, Wise token. It's the worst chart I've ever seen. I guess actually there's another 3-letter coin that just goes it went negative 10,000x. Negative 10,000x. Like, and you're just like, every single one of these things has destroyed so many people. And I feel great because I did everything I could to save people. And then people that, bought Hex, gained a following, and then sold their Hex. Like the Wise guy, emergency end stake, like 300 million Hex, sold it all, murdered the price, and then screwed everyone with a horrible project that's the worst price chart I've ever seen. and then you never hear from them again. They just disappear. They scam and leave.
Richard, I haven't heard from you in a while, bub. And I gave you 10 grand. And so did all my buddies. So no, but I'm saying this a little bit of but before Sam goes, this was the moment he talked about Zen. He went on for a second, and then Jack immediately claps back on Twitter. So we're going immediately to the clap back on Twitter here. This is the clap back. So what an efficient way to distribute the new currency. Give it away for free to everyone. An amazing tweet by Jack, first of all. Funny. And then let's see how he crops it up.
What an efficient way to distribute a new currency. Give it away for free to everyone.
That is kind of interesting. It's funny.
Can you talk about all that, Sam? I just brought you down a little journey, and I would like to know your thoughts about that in a real deal sense. Like Richard basically calls every ERC20 a scam, and he says everyone disappears and everyone's price charts go to zero, and that they only lose money in those things, but they only gain money in his. So what do you think about that? I mean, it's kind of bullshit.
I mean, well, if you look at the price chart of Zen, right? Price is down and to the right, right? So that makes sense. And then, well, like Hex is not like it's down 95% or 97% or something like that. But I think that they're playing two different games. They're playing two different games where, like, it appears, and I don't have, like, I definitely don't pay attention to Richard Hart as much as like other people do. And I've had conversations with Jack before, but it feels as though Jack is trying to focus on more of crypto adoption or a different picture, right? Where Richard Hart is focused on something like he only is focused on the price going up. There's not a right thing or wrong thing going on there. It's just Richard Hart is focused on one direction only, where Jack is focused on another direction only. And like the one way you can think about it, right, is if you're scaling horizontally to tons and tons and tons and tons of users, right? And I don't know if you're going to save this for later in the show or if you're going to do it at some point, but Jack Uven announced he's coming out with his own blockchain, right? His own network. And like I said this, 2 weeks ago, we've kind of chatted in the offline about this multiple times. Like what happens if Zen has, there's roughly, according to last year's numbers in January, so they're a year old numbers, 300 million people in crypto, right? So if Zen gets to say 5 million holders across 14 different chains or 26 million holders across 14 chains, and then you come out with your own chain, and you can incentivize people by giving them free shit because they hold Zen or they participated in Zen or they minted or whatever, however you want to do that. I mean, I don't know how that can play out, right? But I just know that when you get massive quantities of people together, there's a giant network effect, right? You were talking about this, I think, yesterday in regards to developers, right? As the number of developers building on something increases, you get a larger and larger quantity of people who are coming up with ideas and building, right? And then they come up with another idea and they build. And that makes things grow at a much faster rate, like as users are coming into the system. And I think that Richard Hart is trying to build something else with Pulsechain where the price is going to go up in like drastically. That's what he wants it. That's what he wants to do.
That's what he wants. That is what he wants. No doubt about that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Which is cool for me, guys, because I know all you guys in the chat think that I hate Richard, but if Richard makes this all work out, I am going to be so bloody rich. I am going to be so rich. I'm going to be, if this 100x's, if any of his metrics 100x, I am going to be so disgustingly rich because, and that's why I think you guys should think twice before you think I'm a scam artist. Because what I'm trying to do is just talk about this stuff as open-minded as possible and where no one will do it. No one will do it. Sam, we will go straight to the meat and potatoes of the show. The thing that everyone wants to see, the thing that I popped into after my show with Tom Gillespie. And then afterwards, we can talk about as well. I did a clip with Jack on that same interview about his layer one. So we can just say what his thoughts on the matter were. And he talks more about that in here. I think I stopped this at the right spot, but to be honest, I'm not 100% sure, pretty darn sure. But if you see here, guys, there was a Twitter Spaces yesterday. We have, thank the Staker class for putting this on. Join me with the infamous Zen Vampire Jack Levin. Seriously, this is crypto. Like this is how crypto rolls. So, Sam, we got Trayvon. Trayvon came in and asked basically the question that everyone in the room wanted to hear. Where's the money? How do I get mine? And am I going to get my money? And then Jack,
and this is in regards to Pulse.
Yes, in regards to Pulsechain. And Trayvon is a Hexagon. He's also, well, he's infamously known for the BitConnect situation. He was shilling BitConnect and it went to zero. And I don't know the ins and outs of BitConnect. So I would have to see how ignorant it was of him to do so before I would make a decision on that. Because I haven't looked into BitConnect. I don't even think I was paying attention then. But he's a Hex guy. He streams all the time. He has his own token. You know, he does like a paid thing with the token and but again, he's a popular guy. He has a lot of followers in a different demographic than myself. And he wants to get to, he's a little more buzz with it. So let's see. He just asked the question, where's the money? And I'm just cutting it to where Jack's talking, I think, but I can't remember. I did this hours ago.
If you're a project lead for a project, you have to know what's going on, even if you do not understand the code. So the questions that were asked at the conference were not about the code. It was about, just the roadmap, and the roadmap isn't coming. And his body language and what he said told me, and this is my personal opinion, I could be wrong, it told me that he is not even talking to his developers. Maybe there are no developers. Who knows? Maybe the Ethereum 2, which is the proof of stake, is a lot more complicated and they need to start from square one. Now, if I were to launch a chain, I would say that forget the world's largest airdrop. It already happened on the Ethereum POW. Let's just forget this whole idea about copying the state. If people are worried about hacks not being on the new chain, well, you can airdrop the new hacks on the new chain just by looking at the hacks contract on Ethereum. It's actually very easy. It can be done in about 5 minutes. So nothing really needs to be copied state-wise. So I think this whole idea of giving free stuff or a copy of stuff you have on Ethereum seemed like an attractive idea for marketing, but ultimately it has no value. And we see that, for example, USDC on Ethereum POW has no value. So why would it have value on Pulsechain? Perhaps he thought it would have value, but maybe he realized that it has no value and therefore they're desperately trying to come up with new ideas in terms of what to do. Now, we do know that there's quite a bit of money in the sacrifice pools that were supposed to be used on Pulsechain and whatnot. However, with the news about the SEC, this makes it harder to do because that makes Pulse pretty much a security. In other words, Pulse was given to people who gave money to some wallet, and now this money will be used to generate more value. If that is the case, the SEC will have no problem ruling that Pulse is a security and was sold to the investors. So this whole sacrifice idea is not really true sacrifice. It's actually people are full of expectations and nobody's fooled that just because we call it a sacrifice, it really is an investment with the anticipation of profit.
I want to cut to Sam Stolt there.
I completely agree with that. Right, there's something, and I don't know the legal terms for this or whatever, but when you think about something from a legal standpoint, the judge will look at it to try to understand the intent of something, because you can see actions, right? But when you understand the context of the situation, right, they will see what this person's trying to do, right? So this happens with certain things with taxes and whatnot, right? So if somebody's intent behind something is purely to get around the rules, right, then and that could easily be how it's portrayed, right? I mean, like, that was the first thing I said when I was telling my friends about it. I was like, yeah, oh yeah, you can do these sacrifices just to literally get around the rules for raising money in crypto, right? This is literally the conversation I have with people around there. So if somebody who didn't, when I was learning about crypto a year ago, right? If I'm getting into crypto and I see that there's people trying to manipulate things just to get around the rules, I think that it is plausible that the SEC does take that interpretation of it because people are full of fucking institutions. Look at how many YouTube videos there are around Pulse and price predictions. Like,
Sam, can you tell me one thing about lawyers real quick in your experience? And if you know 100 guys that have lawyers that are on payroll, I know at least 10 of them that have sacrificed for this project. Can that cause a problem when people are directly attacking someone that maybe is prepared?
I don't think that people who are like people who actually have lawyers, I don't think most of those people are concerned, because when you're successful enough to like actually need a lawyer for a lot of things that you do, you understand shit changes and takes time. And there's a saying, like a cliche, where if you think something's going to take 6 months and this costs $1 million, then it inevitably takes twice as long and costs twice as much, right? So that 6-month project turned into a 1-year project, and instead of costing $1 million, it cost $2 million. And software development, right? Like this is all like brand new shit, right? Ethereum being POS is brand new shit. So when
the centralized nature that they're moving into is kind of a brand new idea too. Like, it's like, okay, we're good now. It's cool. Like, centralized is cool.
But I think the problems are going to come from the small people. Like, you don't want to do business with somebody who's broke. Well, like, I don't want to necessarily do business with somebody who's broke, because why? Because they're gonna see $5,000, and they're gonna try to steal the $5,000 from me because they're broke. They don't have any fucking money. I'd rather deal with somebody who's successful, who has money, because then they're not going to try to steal $5,000 from me for stupid shit and ruin a relationship, right? Because they think longer term. So people who have lawyers, who are successful in business, who are progressive in the way that they think about things, are generally not always going to be the people who are going to cause the problems. It's the little peons, right? The people who don't have the patience. It's the people who are broke. It's the people who like, oh, I sacrificed, $60,000, and now my wife broke up with me, and I don't have any money, and I'm living in my fucking van, right? It's those people, because then they're going to be like the whining little bitches, and they're going to cause like the friction. They're going to cause the issues, right? As time goes on, where it's not always going to be the people who have the lawyers that are going to cause the issues, because they understand. Once you do business several times and you just continue to do business more and more and more deals, you understand things happen, right? Like, you understand shit takes forever sometimes to get shit done, inevitably, right? I bought a real estate deal, and I don't remember when it was, but it took 3.5, 4 years for me to get it executed to actually make money from the deal, right? So I put money into it. My expectation initially was, okay, I should be able to do this in 6 to 8 months. 3.5 years later, I started getting money out of it, right? So I don't think it's going to come from the people who are super successful and that are like involved, because they understand patience a lot more than other people do. Small investor, here's this is from Penny. Oh, sorry, Spendy.
Smallest investors in funds are generally the biggest hassles and need to be the most managing. Sam, in business, oh yeah, I remember they used to say this all the time. Tell me that 20% of your problems will come, 80% of your problems will come from 20% of the people, and it's generally the poor ones. And I don't mean poor, like, oh, okay, this guy makes $100,000, this guy makes $200,000. No, I mean like the guys that are successful are not going to bother you, and the guys that don't have any money and are scared for their future, they will bother you, and they will ask you for their money back, and they will make a bull ass, and they will get lawyers to do shit because they think they're smart and they're not. And it's stupid because you're just like, dude, I just did a kick-ass job for you, and you're just pissed because you don't have money. Period. Guys, that was an amazing breakup to the first section of this. Let's keep it.
If SEC has engaged with Richard and told him, hey, if you do this, we don't even have to do much and to deem it a security, so you may as well just stop everything. And so that could be the situation. So I don't think he's lying. I think he's not saying certain things that are specifically personal and private to him. And I would say his hands are pretty much tied. Though I would say that if it was me, I would just say, hey, look, SEC is now has us on the radar. We have to do something else. So I would have said that, but he is not saying it, which is unfortunate. But it is what it is. So it's a personal choice.
Do you think a good idea would be to abandon the sacrifice, just send everybody their funds back, and then just use Hex as the gas? Would that be SEC free?
That's what I would do.
Nice. That's what I told him to do in the first place.
There's
Did
no
you catch
way.
that? Did you catch that? Did you catch that? I mean, come on. Did we catch that, Sam? Were you listening when he said that? What did you think about that?
So let me think about that. So he said, give people their money back, and then I stopped there for a second because
Let me say it one more time.
There's no way he's giving the money back.
Just let Sam looked at his phone right away because he was like, let me turn on my earmuffs for a second. This is horse ass. He was calling horse ass. But let's go.
Do this. We don't even have to do much and to deem it a security, so you may as well just stop everything. And so that could be the situation. So I don't think he's lying. I think he's not saying certain things that are specifically personal and private to him. And I would say his hands are pretty much tied. Though I would say that if it was me, I would just say, hey, look, SEC is now has us on the radar. We have to do something else. So I would have said that, but he is not saying it, which is unfortunate. But it is what it is. So it's a personal choice.
Do you think a good idea would be to abandon the sacrifice, just send everybody their funds back, and then just use Hex as the gas? Would that be SEC free?
That's what I would do.
Nice. That's what I told him to do in the first place. But okay.
How's that for?
I'm satisfied now. Thanks for this answer.
So think about that for a second. First of all, we know getting the money back is not going to be, that's definitely not going to happen. Second of all, coming out with the chain and then using Hex as the gas, that's an interesting idea, right? That is an interesting idea. And I think that you put up a chart earlier of the Zen network or Zen blockchain or the other chart that you had, right? And it shows Zen is gonna, he's coming out with his own blockchain. And if you use Zen on the network, right, that might be interesting. Or Hex as the gas on Pulse, that might be an interesting idea.
Well, why don't we play? Let's just get that straight because I have it right here. So, guys, I'm bringing you through the whole journey. I'm not playing any games here with if I know I have your attention, and there's 178 in here, and I'm not going to let you down by being a little wuss. Let's get right. I already posted this clip. Will Jack Levin create a layer 1 blockchain? And then I called him. I said, get in the green room. I got to ask you some damn questions. And then I clipped him up, sent him out just a few days ago, guys. Hey, if you're in here and you actually support me, I'm doing lots of clips on YouTube and Instagram and on TikTok. And I would really appreciate if you are a fan of the show. I know a lot of you guys hate my absolute guts for no reason. But for the guys that really enjoy me and talk to me all the time, please go to those clips. I'm really putting in as much effort as I can, getting those clips out to everyone. And over the last 2 days, I've probably worked for 20 hours trying to figure out how to put clips out properly, the best way possible. And that's for Sam and me, because as I go forward, I'm going to be posting his ass everywhere. He's got so many one-liners in there. I got years of Sam STOLT in my download. I have a file. This is Sam STOLT one-liners. And it's dope. It's really good. And I can't wait to get good enough at it to execute on it properly. So I'm really excited, guys. So if anyone's into that stuff, hit the like too while you're in here, and subscribe to Sam Stolt on Twitter and on YouTube and on Instagram. And he's in the supplement industry. If you don't know, there's a lot in here. And if you have questions about supplementation, testosterone, male enhancements, and things of that nature, that's something he's been studying for over 15 years. Period. I go to everyone that comes to me about that stuff. I have a meeting with Sam with him, and then it's over. And like I talk to him, I warm him up, and then Sam gives them. So, guys, big times in the world right now, and we're here for you. I want to touch on the layer one talk because everyone keeps mentioning it to me, and what they're mentioning to me is Jack's going to build a layer one. Is it the truth? Is it not the truth? I don't really care. But I want to know for real, like, is that something on a roadmap? There's a lot of layer ones. There's a lot. It's not like, it doesn't seem like crazy to think of you making a layer one. Is that something you've thought about more as this is all evolved? I can only imagine your brain has been like, so much stuff going on, so many possibilities.
So the answer is actually pretty simple. If we use Zen as gas for layer one, the future layer one, it actually gives Zen more utility because we can design a layer one to burn Zen.
And it's already got a locomotive, but it's already has its heartbeat, and then you're putting a layer one on, and it's almost like it already has so much going on, and then you're using it as that base layer one burn token. Is that possible?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So Zen has the proof of burn mechanism. So let me give you an example. Let's say that there is Zen layer one, whatever it may be. Obviously, everything that's built on top of Zen will immediately be ported there. And for you to, so here's what we do not want to do on layer one. We don't want layer one to mint Zen. We want every chain to mint Zen and then cross over into the layer one by not necessarily using a bridge, by the way. What we can do is we can actually have a proof of burn lookup done on Ethereum. And if you burned Zen on Ethereum in a smart contract, then that's a proof that you can migrate over and get the Zen minted on the new layer one that you can use for gas. Or it doesn't actually even need to be Zen. It could be very, very special, its own gas token that you can convert into just by proving that you have burned Zen on Ethereum. So you're helping the Zen holders on Ethereum with the supply. The supply will be reduced because you're burning, obviously, and the value will go higher. But then anybody who had the proof of burn, like imagine you having a MetaMask wallet, it has all of your records, how much Zen you have burned. You will be able to qualify for a mint or technically an airdrop of a gas token on the new layer one.
So it sounds like that you've wrapped your head around that. And remember you were talking more about the devs and the Metcalfe's law and stuff. So like as you add people to this brain, we're not giving you that much sauce. No chance. No, you got to go to the video.
So there's many different ways you could implement layer one. I said this yesterday or 3 or 4 days ago. If Jack can continue the growth of Zen across all the networks, that means staying relevant, staying growing on a consistent basis, month after month or week after week, continue to grow. That is going to be pouring more gasoline on the fire and like coming out with a layer one that is done in a different manner where, whether it's proof of burn or something. We had talked about this off air. I would love it to be proof of work. That'd be fucking epic. Where you can
you're going to be delighted to know that I pitched that to him in this segment here.
Oh, you did? What a great transition. What a great transition.
And I don't know if it was before or after this, but I did. And I mentioned as specific as you would ask that question, like the same question we've been asking for 3 days straight. Can you pivot to proof of work? And he said, I don't know what he said, but it wasn't no, but it was not yes. but again, I'm trying to change the world how I can do it, Sam. And remember when I said I want ETH POW and ETH Fair with Zen, I think it could be a good option. And he said the liquidity is low. And I said, at least do it for my POW boys. So you can change the world by being open-minded and talking clearly and detailed with people. The reason that Jack likes to talk to me, yeah, I'm a spaz, yeah, I'm crazy, but I care and I think about these things all day long. So he wants my insights because I care. How could you find people that care about stuff? This stuff's frankly a little boring. It's just like staking and minting, so we're trying to keep it fresh.
Yeah, sure. I mean, if the money is still there and there are any questions on whether this money has been collected by issuing an unregistered security that you're going to go to jail for, I would just say, okay, it was wrong. We had different ideas. We were misled. Whatever the excuse might be, and I would just send everybody the sacrifice money back, so to speak, and that's it.
It's all on chain. You could just send I mean, that's if you haven't spent it already, but that's what I would do. So I'll send everybody their USD. I would send everybody a USDC value back, or maybe their coins back if it's off
And that's when I realized Trayvon's brain doesn't work. So yeah, come on, Trayvon.
There's no fucking way that's happening.
Trayvon, who's your audience? I mean, are you guys being serious over there? You think he's going to go 16x up and then give you your money back? Come on, Trayvon. And I hope Trayvon doesn't have oversack syndrome. That can happen, Sam. You've heard of these diseases.
Over leveraged. He could be over leveraged into the sacrifice.
And sometimes it's an illness. It's if you have staker syndrome and oversack syndrome, you can decay very rapidly mentally. And that's something that I actually came up with clinically. Could lose my shit
on Cardano or something, and just use Hex as the gas, man. Forget Pulse.
So
this guy.
I would say with Richard's following, which is quite a lot of people, I think the team should be focusing on making Hex better by building on top of Hex and giving community things that they can actually use, rather than giving community the runaround and the absence of the roadmap and the promise of something that is not to come. So I think definitely the community probably deserves the build out of new interesting things. And you know how Richard keeps saying that he's the richest whatever person in the world? Well, not really, but that he has a lot of money. I mean, why is he not using this potential that's supposed to be in his pocket to build new things?
Oh my God, man! I don't know. Maybe he's waiting for 11K, man, or 10K. That's what I'm hoping. Maybe he is just waiting. He's just bluffing with the code, just making himself seem stupid, just trying to FUD us all out, just shake us all out. I don't know anything about code. And then, 10K hit.
Hey, Sam, with what we've talked about, Trayvon mentions he doesn't understand the code. That would be all of us pretty much. But we talked about some of those intricacies over the last few days here with the code. And I don't think he's bluffing when he says, I do not understand a damn thing about Ethereum proof of stake code. Do you think he's bluffing on that? Because that's what he said that's literally what he said in the interview. He's like, I don't understand what these devs are talking about anymore.
I mean, 2 minutes earlier, he said, oh, you should just give back people's sacrifice at USD values. Bro, can't be that smart, bro. His audience is a little more young. He kind of has a little me. It's different than our audience, and he's been on the show. I actually introduced him to Jack. And then he I think I met him. I think he's a nice dude.
No, I introduced him to Jack. I remember this. I'll never forget this. Not many people are blatantly rude in this world. It's true. Even people fake. They wouldn't be blatantly rude generally, right? And I invited him on the show with Jack, and I was ear to ear smiling, of course. You know how I am in the morning. And he literally never said hi to me once, and he just asked Jack a question. I never met the guy in my life. I invited him on the stream. He had never met Jack. He acted like Jack was the president of the United States. And I was like, dude, are you gonna say hi to me? Are you gonna say what's up? I literally said it right on stream, and I was like, this guy's a little off to me. And then he always jabs me on shit, always. And I'm like, dude, do you want me to go there? That would be a really bad situation. So let's just everyone keep it chill. We're not gonna be talking any ass, but I want good vibes from everyone. I'm not trying to hate. I'm not trying to be a hater. And don't come at your boy, because
I think a lot of the people who are like, hey, let's do a lawsuit, let's get our coins back, let's do this thing and that thing. How a flag on a pole blows whatever direction the wind is. That's these people, in my opinion, right? Fucking 6 months from now, we're in a bull market. These people are going to be, oh my God, this is the best thing. Let me take Richard's dick in my mouth, right? Like, that's how these people operate, right?
Right. And I'm trying my best. And that's why I'm best. Like, Sam's my best friend for a reason. I stick to him like glue because he doesn't let my consciousness go into the bullshit too much. Of course, we're running a show. It's a good time. We have fun. But if I was actually focusing on the wrong things, he wouldn't be friends with me. He wouldn't. He literally would not answer the phone. He would just be like, dude's kind of an idiot now. Like, he was on a decent track and he's just being a pleb like everyone else now. And I would do the same thing if he started like serial selling some dangerous steroids. Like, I would be like, I just don't really want to talk to Sam anymore that much. Like, if he was just giving Trenbolone to 14-year-olds all day, like I would just be like, that's just not. So me and Sam are businessmen and men, and we respect each other, but we're not. You know what I mean? Like, it's fair, and that's the way you should find friends. That's fair, and I try to provide as much value to Sam as I possibly can throughout my day, and I think he notices that, and then provides a lot of value to me with energy and time when he's on the show. Really good points constantly. Without him, I would be in trouble sometimes. You and Fashion Coder were just like, oh my God, I felt like it was my
That was
day
a good
off.
show. If you guys missed that show and you want to maybe learn some more like nuances about code, not in the sense that like you need to take a nap nuances, but just some interesting conversation around AI and code and how some of these things might be playing out. And I had some personal business questions that I was asking her I needed about coding. You guys should check out that episode. It was the episode right before this one. Very, very good episode. But let's get back into the Twitter Spaces.
Yeah, let's get back into this. This is really good. Guys, we're going to keep going on this show, Sam, aren't we? We are going to keep going for a while. Like, we're going to keep trying to do this. And Sam is really under the impression, and so am I, that blockchain will be just as influential as the internet moving forward. And we don't mind being on that bandwagon. That's a chill vibe when you're talking about scaling to everyone in the world. Sam loves business. He loves scaling. I love good times.
It's been Pulsechain launches.
Well, Trayvon, proof of work had 420 lines of code. Proof of stake has over 1 million. So I think it's fair to say he really might not understand that shit. Nor do I, of course. But when you're talking about 1 million lines of untested code and he was coming out hot with the 2 weeks, that's tough.
Well,
yeah, I mean, go ahead, Jack.
My thinking is, if this is really that complicated and you promise the blockchain to the community, just get the blockchain out. It doesn't need to have a copy. It doesn't need to be a fork. There's plenty of projects out there. You do not need to fork. You can just run it. You can port hacks to it. You can have community be happy. You can have your builders deploy all of the things that they have built on the Pulsechain testnet. Just go with that, and everybody will be very, very happy. And then return the Pulse money, I guess, and that will make people happy too. Because I think people sacrificed during the bull market. If the money is sitting in a stable coin, that's kind of like a sell at the top, so to speak. So why not make people happy by returning their SAC money? And then if that happens, then and there is a chain, then all of those people will be very happy to use all that money on that chain too.
That's
Katie, it's a layup move to me.
Go ahead.
I also don't think that that is that simple. When you, like what Jack was saying, I don't necessarily agree with that piece of it from the standpoint that, like, yes, there's a lot of different chains you can use, but if you say that security is important, if you like talk about how important security is, which is something that Richard Hart's done a ton of different times, I don't think he feels comfortable utilizing just any other blockchain that you could fork, or you could just take that and come out with it. Because, like, I don't want to just come out with products that are not good. I don't want to just come out with something because I said I would come out with something. I could do that, but I just don't want to do that. I want to come out with something that's great. I want to come out with something that's going to be impactful. I want to come out with something that people love, right? So I think that, I don't definitely pay attention to Richard as much as nearly any, probably some of the people in chat or you, but I get the sense that he wants to do a good project, I think it's going to come out. I have no idea when, and I couldn't care less, right? Like, it doesn't matter to me in one like way or the other. If it comes out this year, cool. If it comes out next year, cool. I couldn't care less. Like, I'm doing my thing, and that thing is not going to make like me successful in one way or another, right? Like, yeah, I'll make money from it, but like I make money from a lot of different things, right?
Hey,
So,
I think I've been doing this for a year.
yeah.
I think I've been doing this for a year. I said 6 months. I don't even have a clue anymore. Like, it's all just mixed together. I'm sure I could just go to my YouTube, and then Sam joined me like very early on. So I'm gonna find the exact date for our 1 year. It's Crypto in the Morning anniversary, so we can just pop the. I'm sure it's coming up. I'm sure it's coming up sometime. I don't know.
I think it was in January, about a year ago. I believe it was.
Guys, smash the like button. How dare you? I've gone every day. He has trusted me to make his hour productive, which God bless him. And that's basically been my standard the whole entire time. Is like making Sam not want to leave. That's like the standard, right? Like, that's like boom, bottom line. And that's because you're valuable to me, and I know that means you're valuable, and I know that means that your time is important, and I know how important an hour is in this world. And because I'm doing it now, I can start to tell. You can start to tell how much. And someone wants an hour. I'm like, an hour.
Right.
I'm like $500. Like I'm like busy as shit. So let's keep it going, guys. Good vibes only. I want to be friends. I want to have good vibes.
Did you call me?
I think he called Katie.
Yeah, I mean, Katie's not saying anything, so go ahead. You guys can just kind of chime in as long as nobody's interrupting each other. Then it's all good.
Okay, sounds good. Hi, Jack. It's good to see you in the room. It's pretty intense conversation when it comes to, this type of subject. It's in our community we experienced it for like a year last year, and it's never fun. It's the truth and the speculation going between each other. But I do have 2 questions for you. And in regard to C-Rank, once you claim the mint, do you still keep that C-Rank with you, or once you claim it go away?
Once you claim it goes away, unless you have a NFT.
Oh, so if you have a NFT, does it matter which class of NFT you have?
C-Rank.
Sam, what's your time until you got to go? Sorry, I muted you. No, you muted yourself.
No, I actually have to. I do have to jump off. I have somebody supposed to be coming over to help me in this thing.
All right. Well, go ahead, Sam, and we'll see you tomorrow. Hey, is there any way you want to do that game show?
Yeah, call me later this afternoon.
Let me call you in 1 hour, 2 hours.
Yes, perfect.
Because
that would be great.
You want to do things that sit there.
And then we can do that, especially if it can be on if we can get it on a schedule like
it's already 5. It's 5 p.m. even. That's what.
Okay, and then go till 6:30. I could probably do something like that.
Dude, he would be the guy who's running it. I was like, I don't think Sam will do it, just because I was like, I doubt he'll be. But the fact that he's going to be really excited when I tell him that you'll do it, because you were the first one he wanted to do it, but I just assumed you might be busy at that moment, so I wanted to keep going with the combo. Anyway, get out of here, you little nut.
Appreciate
Everyone,
you
make sure you I'm gonna double show your stuff again on here, guys. Make sure you follow him on YouTube, especially because he drops fire content on liquidity providing. On it, when we get into a specific topic, he goes further and does clips on his channel. So make sure you check those out, and I'll post all those links below. Sam, peace.
Appreciate you. Later, guys.
So let me just keep playing this. I'll play this. If you have any comments in between, then just let me know. And if you have any questions in the chat, just hashtag question. The chat's moving really quick, so hashtag question. And I'm going to keep this running for a little. Let's go.
Doesn't matter if your NFTs are Apex category or limited category. So limited and collectible, which is the 2 lower tiers, they share the. Well, actually, no. We're talking about C-Rank. So C-Rank is common among all NFTs. So no matter what NFT you're holding, your C-Rank will be locked in that NFT. Doesn't matter which one.
Okay, so if you hold in this NFT and the date comes and you claim the Zen token, what will happen to that NFT?
It still stays in your wallet, but it gets a redeemed stamp, and it also gets a redeemed property so that people know that there is no more future mint coming.
I see, but it's just sort of stay there for art purpose, but at that point, it's no longer serve as an engine for minting anymore. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Oh.
Cannot be used because the mint is done and there is no more mint to be done. You cannot reload the old C rank. That's not how the contract works. However, there is a possibility that should you have a vanity NFT that's redeemed with a C rank, perhaps you can use it to amplify your yield with the new reflection token. So that's definitely a possibility.
Okay, that was my next question, because I know that the last time we spoke, you were talking about not only using the Apex and the Limited as the participant factor for the reflection token. Have you decided if the collector class can participate as well?
Yes, all the NFTs will participate without exception, all of them.
Okay, that's good to hear. So if you do have a wallet, for example, that have really low C rank, and you take it out and stake it, obviously, so your C rank is still there. But once you stake it out and it's out to the market, and you still hold it, are you? Is it still? I guess it doesn't stay anymore, right? Because it's now become a token and no longer a minting wallet. Never mind, scratch that. Thank you so much for answering the question. Hey, Kindness and Javon, Jim Rat, I enjoy your conversation today with Gillespie. That was quite fascinating. Thank you for doing that content. I will leave that up to Katie to be the next speaker.
Hello, guys. I can speak on ETH and to what I know in my personal knowledge and what that relates back to Pulsechain, if people want.
Yeah, go ahead.
So when the previous fork got scraped, so essentially it was a Binance fork with ETH implementations, and they had nearly finished that one. And then ETH 2.0 came out. ETH 2.0 is actually two chains. So there's ETH 1 and ETH 2, which have just been renamed now by the Ethereum Foundation. So it's now called an execution layer and a consensus layer. And then there's a third party API that sits in between them two, which is the engine API. And the engine API is just a JSON script that allows them to communicate securely. The execution layer essentially fills the blocks, and the consensus layer is what you would have previously known. Well, no, the consensus layer is the new layer, and the execution layer is the old ETH. So the consensus layer just selects blocks that are pre-filled by the execution layer and pushes them through. And you need at least 2 clients in each layer, and each client had to be reaccounted for in the supply slots for the supply increase. So they had to rewrite 4 clients to account for the supply increase in Pulse, which is actually a huge undergoing, especially if those teams don't want to work with you. And then they have 4 APIs that they need to have working in tandem with each other to have the consensus layer in Pulsechain working. So like it was a big undergoing, and a 6-month delay so far since that last announcement is relatively fair in my opinion. Yeah.
Well, I think it's no question that things get complicated with the new Ethereum proof of stake. I mean, for sure. I mean, definitely more complexity. I think people are not upset about the complexity. People are upset about not having the transparency in what is happening within the team that's building it. So that is the biggest issue here. Not that things are tough and difficult. And also, I think people feel like the leader of the project is not in the know in terms of, or not willing to share what stage things are without necessarily giving. I mean, like, I don't think people are even looking for a date for Pulsechain to launch. People are just looking for understanding that the person is at the helm, he's controlling the ship, he has the team, like maybe he's hiring new people, that sort of thing. So it's more of a community management situation rather than the technical complexity, the way that I see it.
I do believe there's like hesitation in the sense that what people previously knew to be Pulsechain isn't Pulsechain anymore. So Pulsechain used to be that the whole entire supply would be minted and then no further supply would be minted after that, and it was purely deflationary. But the second that they announced that we're forking ETH 2.0, it's now net deflationary, where we do have the same emissions mechanism as ETH does. So I think it's a hesitation in the sense that without V3 and people being able to touch it and see it, there will be backlash in a sense, that people don't necessarily understand that we gave up some aspects of what we once knew for Pulsechain for better security and better upgrades.
I think that's where the communication is really vital. I think people will understand the changes if the founder is very transparent why those changes are made. And if people can get deep into those sort of questions, exploring those reasons, then it's just overall better for the community. I mean, like, wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I definitely don't disagree with that one at all. I mean, going from 3-second block times to 10-second block times, and then 10-second block times can turn into 12 seconds with congestion on the network.
Yeah, I think ultimately the speed of the blocks is not that big of a deal. I think what's really upsetting to a lot of people, especially developers that's been developing on Pulsechain, that they're not seeing any sort of their own end game of where they're ready to launch. So one large project, which is Pulsechain, is preempting all of the builders out there. And what's unfortunate about this situation, without transparency, those developers may be leaving the community and building somewhere else where they feel like they can actually get not only the transparency but also the support from the interested chains.
Some really good points, I must say, from both parties here. I think it is a communication issue. I sacrificed myself, still waiting patiently. I'm a Hexakin. But yeah, I think it's just a communication thing overall. I think I don't really believe it has anything to do with the SEC, but I don't know. I can't confirm that myself. So not gonna spread rumors that are not true or are true. You never really know what's going on. But yeah, just really communication, I think, is what is needed. I think you hit it on the nail there. I still believe in Richard Hart, Pulsechain, PulseX, Hex. And yeah, we'll just have to see. Hopefully there's some better communication across the board. I would appreciate myself, really, actually.
Well, I think what I hear from the Hexagon community is that a lot of people want the old Richard back, the really intellectual, smart, deep thinker type of individual, rather than a person that's flexing all the time, flexing his purses that he's buying or whatnot. I mean, but the good news though is that he did have black T-shirt on that conference, so I did see that.
That's very bullish. Yep.
I would say it's bullish. I even did a super chat and I said, "Hey, Richard looks good in black, finally."
Everything matches in black, so it's a win.
Yeah. I mean, I am hopeful. I mean, I haven't sacrificed anything because I came to know Hex and Pulse way late. I think it was May of last year. But I had a lot of friends that actually did spend literally millions of dollars, towards the sacrifice pool. With, obviously, we all say it's no expectations, but the reality is that there was supposed to be the gas for the new chain, so to speak, right? And so I hope it does come out. I hope those people get something interesting out of it. So I'm definitely aligned and hopeful that things may happen. And if there's anything that I could do to help with infrastructure or anything that's out there, I would be totally willing to support the team to launch, because I do have a lot of infrastructure experience, about 20 years.
Guys, you know what my dream is. You've all known my dream. If you actually, I know a lot of you guys hate me for whatever reason, and I know none of you guys have smashed the like, and y'all sit here and you just think I'm a whatever. But my whole goal of I knew Jack was the real deal when I met him and when we talked, and I knew he had a lot of experience in certain things. And I learned everything I know about crypto back in a couple years back when RH was spitting the truth all over the internet. RH has done some flip-flopping since then, but nobody knows what's going on in his personal life. And I wish these guys would work together to scale to the world and get everyone to know this stuff instead of beating their heads together, instead of getting their D's involved, instead of punching back, clap back. I don't care about any of that. None of us care about that stuff, really. What we want is everyone to know and what the truth is. And, you know, I think Jack is a nice dude, and I think he would work with RH diligently. And if they were to come to some agreement where they could just chat, they don't have to pump each other's bag. The Hex USDC pool has $5 million in it. We don't have to worry so much about that. In the Pulsechain sacrifice, everyone's already done it. So why not just talk? Why not just have collaboration? When will there ever be collaboration? Is this always going to be who makes the most money first? I wish that it would just be a future where everyone had Hex, Zen in their wallets, and these guys could work together and use their skills. They both have such amazing, incredible skills, and they're different. They're very different. Richard is a price chart god. Richard is a degen. He knows everything about liquidity. Richard knows Uniswap liquidity and the nuanced understanding of why assets move in price and how to adjust that better than anyone. Clearly, Jack knows a lot about scaling to everyone. Why don't we work together? That is my dream. And people can hate me along the way and whatever, but I just wish that everyone would get along. People hate me because they are not allowed to hate Richard because they're brainwashed. And because it's like football. They pick teams and then that's it. They just pick a team and they stay there. I don't play that shit. And I think that's a way to be unsuccessful in life in general.
Or so, building Google first, then building ImageHack, working with Twitter, scaling their image infrastructure. So this is a walk in the park for me. So if there's anybody out there who is like, hey, want to pick my brain on the proper decision making in terms of what kind of technology should be used, I could give that advice for free, and I think we'll all benefit. I think we're all here for a vibrant crypto world that we can live in and believe in and thrive. So I'm definitely on board with that.
That's awesome, Jack. Yeah, that's the whole point of these spaces that I host, is just to bring the communities together. Obviously we put in the title here, Vampire Jack Levin. I've met you personally, and I think you're a good person. I think you're a genuine.
And just know, guys, when Pulsechain does launch, this is what you're going to get: a 24-hour live stream by me working through all the problems. Hopefully there's not too many scams going on at the time. I'll be helping people with that, and I'll be working through my wallets and all my sacrifices and all my different computers and trying to figure out what's going on. But I want to give my time that 24 hours because I think that'll be extremely valuable for me and the channel and everyone watching, because I know people will be working or whatever that day. Who knows? Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Subscribe to the channel. Let's get it.
Genuine person. I think Richard's a genuine person, and there's no, I don't think there should be this type of beef between two great builders. So I'm personally going to do everything I can to bring all the communities together, because that's the only way we're really going to move forward in crypto. So I appreciate you taking the time and everybody showing up to the space. And if anybody has anything else to say, this is the
I
time.
second what you say about everyone working together with all of our different communities, because there's a million of them, guys, and there's going to be a million more. There's going to be crypto for gym people at some point, and I'm sure I'll be into that, right? Or whatever. And then you got, yeah, there's more token. There's, there's a million different communities. But if we all chat, then the smart people can get together faster and they can figure out what's going on around here and how we can fix it in a more mature way. But if you're talking nonsense, talking about your penis, talking about other people, women, all this distractionary stuff, you're going to have huge problems because it's not appropriate, and frankly it's a distraction in every way, shape, and form. And I like hanging out with the guys too and talking s, but I don't want to do that in front of the people that are supporting me, because I would rather just, try my best to do whatever the heck I'm, give the news and talk about crypto. But I think getting everyone together, I think it was my biggest dream, and I'm a huge Richard Hart fan. Although when I listen to him, he's been a bit of a flip flop since I listened to him, to be quite honest. But I wanted you two to get together because I thought we could actually make a dent potentially in the universe easier. And I know that, and I right or whatever. And then you got, yeah, there's more token. There's, shout out to more token. Just shouted it out in there. I didn't even know I did this. This is like brand new content to me. I was freedom fighting last night. I'm feeling all good about this one. This is a good one. What did I say? Richard's a flip-flop. I think I invented Richard's a flip-flop. But that's all right. A flip-flop don't mean you're going to prison. It's like you can be a bit of a flip-flop. That happens on occasion over the years, but you know what I mean. I don't think that's that's more of a joke. There's a million different communities, but if we all chat, then the smart people can get together faster and they can figure out what's going on around here and how we can fix it in a more mature way. But if you're talking nonsense, talking about your penis, talking about other people, women, all this distractionary stuff, you're going to have huge problems because it's not appropriate, and frankly it's a distraction in every way, shape, and form. And I like hanging out with the guys too and talking s, but I don't want to do that in front of the people that are supporting me, because I would rather just, try my best to do whatever the heck I'm, give the news and talk about crypto. But I think getting everyone together, I think it was my biggest dream, and I'm a huge Richard Hart fan. Although when I listen to him, he's been a bit of a flip flop since I listened to him, to be quite honest. But I wanted you two to get together because I thought we could actually make a dent potentially in the universe easier. And I know that, and I thought, but then obviously he calls you a scammer, and then it's like, okay, well, let's just all try our best, because fuck that. It's like calling people out and nameless, no specifics.
Yeah, I think you nailed it on the head. I think we're stronger together. I don't think there should be division. And this whole thing about tribalism, it does more damage to all of the individuals than actually make things better for everyone. And I think, remember, like Charles Hoskinson, he was had that beef with XRP community. They called him a petulant child or something like that. I think all of those things are silly, and I think he actually had a good point. He said that when Bitcoin came out, when we only had like maybe 10,000 people in the community, everyone loved what they were doing. They loved it. They wanted to build new interesting things. We were aligned together to create opportunity for people to control their own economic energy, to store their money safely. All of those things are still true. And if we align our brain power all together, I think we'll all benefit. So I would say we should really not to spend and waste energy on personal attacks or basically get into a FUD. Like nobody cares about the FUD. The only time FUD is, I guess, is thriving is when you feel like the people are leaving the community, and that's when people are aggressive towards other projects because they feel like the other projects are stealing people. But I think people should really have the freedom to be wherever they want, But ultimately, if you're a builder or developer, the aspects that you are rated on is how quickly or how well you deliver and how well you communicate. And I think ultimately, if you just replace FOD with that, we will all be better.
Yeah, I don't know why he doesn't just make the code completely open source. I mean, as in make the pull request completely open source. Let's see everything that he's doing, so that if it's, I mean, completely open at least. If it's open, then people can give their suggestions and give some advice, because he constantly says that coding is hard. Coding is hard. I'm a software developer myself too, so I get it. So, but if you have other eyes looking at the code, they can give their suggestions, and we can move this along faster instead of pulling our leg and pretending as if.
So the difficulty of the code is inversely proportional to the smart people you have on the team, and that give you amazing ideas how to do things better. So the code itself is not difficult. It is only difficult when you don't have enough support to actually get things done.
What do you mean?
And to that,
enough support.
Well, enough support. Like, for example, I mean, I have hired and fired so many people in my life, hundreds of people. And sometimes I get developers that look amazing, but they cannot actually get aligned to produce the results, and they have to be let go. And that actually is detrimental for a project if you retain those people. And so I think that's why the open source foundations specifically are generally thriving more than anything that's closed source, because with open source you can get the world's participation in development of things that seem hard to begin with, but all of a sudden, if you get the right people and people are willing to volunteer their time to do it, you get the most out of it, and you can actually get the amazing code that everybody looked at, everybody tested, and it's actually safer for everybody. And so that is when software becomes not so hard.
Yeah, exactly.
We got funding Jim in the house. Got your hand up. Go ahead and whatever you got to say. Feel free to just interject. Nobody's interrupting each other. No need to raise your hand.
I appreciate that. Hey, Jack, it's good to hear your voice again. I appreciate you coming into this room and being so candid with a lot of your comments. Everyone's been very respectful as far as the part I've heard, and I'm super glad that this is recorded so we can listen to it in full. A couple things. What I felt like the advantage of this pitch for a new L1 and the decks that came along with it as far as the pitch. Sacrifice and all this other kind of monetary thing aside, the pitch was, for me, enabling Hex to be unstaked in a bull market where Ethereum was prohibitively expensive on transactions and the things that we've seen. So I felt like supporting the L1 narrative of Pulsechain, Richard making commentary like, I can't believe no one's ever thought about forking or horizontally scaling Ethereum. Can you make comments about that specifically? Because I feel like the foundation of Ethereum has thought about horizontal scaling, or this idea that Richard likes to make commentary that if you're going to have a popular restaurant, you probably should have more than one to serve more people and effectively bring the cost down for everyone. So can you make commentary from your experience, this to us novel idea of horizontally scaling and forking open source code in Ethereum and bringing over these NFTs and other products and tickers, all the things that made it interesting a year and a half ago? If that is such a novel idea, why hasn't some other founder done this already? With BSC having its fork issue, or if waiting for Ethereum 2.0, I feel like our year and a half advantage of first mover is fading. So can you comment about what you think Ethereum, hardcore Ethereum people think when it comes to horizontally scaling their product?
Yes, absolutely. So here's what I would say. So the horizontal scaling of EVM already happened. The EVM, Ethereum virtual machine, exists on 20 different chains that hardly charge you any gas. So Ethereum's compatibility engine has been scaled horizontally across many chains, and also layer 2 solutions like Optimism and Arbitrum. And just to give you a very, very good example, like let's say that there is an issue with claiming Zen because it's too expensive, because Ethereum is going crazy. Now, what we could do without doing any sort of new chains, we could just have Zen holders move their stakes or their future mints towards Optimism and claim Zen on Optimism and then move it back to Ethereum. So that will actually reduce the fees to by 99%, like 100%. So Optimism and Arbitrum, those are layer 2 solutions, they exist to address specifically that issue of higher gas for complicated transactions. Technically, Hex could be doing the same thing. So obviously we know that due to the design of Hex, unstaking Hex takes a lot of gas. There could be a very, very simple solution for unstaking Hex on Arbitrum or Optimism layer 2 solutions without actually losing any economic energy on Ethereum. So that is definitely a possibility. So I wouldn't say that nobody have thought about it. There's plenty of chains that thought about it. In fact, Polygon was specifically designed as the first proof of stake even before Ethereum became proof of stake. And Polygon has a lot of users and hardly any gas. So yeah, I mean those things did exist for many years. So I don't think, I mean, even though the whole theory of making the changes to make gas cheaper sounds good to regular people, there's plenty of options to solve that problem without actually launching a chain. Now, launching Pulsechain specifically was interesting because people felt like they can have this new interesting DEX that's been developed by hexagons, by the community. There's a lot of support there. So that's definitely a little bit different than just running things on layer 2. So, but I think that those are different, really different things. So the development and the new things that could be launching on Pulse is not really addressing the fact that people are spending a lot of gas to unstake Hex, because solutions for cheaper gas on Ethereum exist today.
So a follow-up to that is, do you feel that this is an issue that the founder has specifically with the increase in the S-load cost? So one of the narratives around Hex was that unnecessarily the S-load cost was 12x, and that's where we saw a big bump in the cost effectively to unstake. And so a lot of people had to leave their Hex and just let it bleed out because it wasn't profitable, even though they had ROI in Hex. The dollar amount and cost was net zero, net negative. So, I've heard this before, L2 solutions, or, other people like Wendy's for Tendies. He's deep in the Ethereum community, and he's explained this to me years ago. Do you think that this reaction by Richard is about trying to compete with Vitalik or Ethereum, or, have namesake more?
Before funding Jim continues, and beautifully said by Jim, shout out to Wendy's for Tendies. Any Wendy's for Tendies fans in the chat? Hey, can I see biceps for Wendy's for Tendies? He's not really on the internet as much anymore, but I know if you're a Hexagon, you probably know Wendy's for Tendies. And he invited me into his StreamYard when I first started like playing around with this stuff, and he taught me so much about Ethereum, and it was like, whoa. Yeah. So biceps for Wendy's.
More popular than other founders? Like, what is your real assessment of the founder versus the idea?
So Vitalik doesn't care about 10,000x on anything, and Richard definitely cares about 10,000x. So obviously Hex has done 10,000x, and I think naturally a person like Richard would want to replicate it on the new chain with Pulse PLS. 10,000x on PLS would obviously bring a lot of new people, a lot of interest, a lot of exposure. So this is definitely very, very attractive. So if I were to compare Richard to Vitalik just doesn't care about those things. He doesn't care about 10,000x. He cares about building the ecosystem and make it vibrant for everybody. But I don't think at this point he cares about delivering the chart that everybody would love. Now with Richard, obviously this is different, because all he talks about is or rather he would say that the most important thing in crypto is the chart. I happen to disagree. I think you can have 1,000 people that push the chart to the stratosphere.
What is your answer to that in the chat? Do you think it's about the price chart, or do you think it's about, the other side of the argument, fundamentals, long-term, staying around, the tech? So I'd like to know what your take on that is personally. Lots of smart guys in the chat.
And then it collapses. Or you can have millions and millions and millions and millions of people, and the chart will not go 10,000x. But the community building on top of it, creating new interesting things, actually has more longevity than just this sort of a bull market spike. So that would be my observation.
Yeah, Richard has said something similar, that Ethereum effectively should be the dumb pipe, and its value as far as an infrastructure play should be the same as a road, that it's the network that transports value, and the other things that are built upon it, give it the value, its underlying value. So it's almost the same thing, just a different way of saying it, I guess.
Yeah, I would totally agree. But I would say that this STOLT situation in Ethereum jacking up the gas prices for the unstakers is, I would say, it's definitely unfair. Not only to the designers of the protocol, because the designers did not expect this to be the case. Even though I would say that in the Hex audit, this was the number one problem, even before STOLT function was increased. If you look at the audit, you will see that the auditors say that, by the way, if you do this 555.
Oh my God. As an intellectual, Jack pumps me up. He's like the hardest part. Like, he knows everything about Hex. He knows everything about Hex. Everything. He studied it, clearly. That's pretty impressive. And that's big on RH for having something Jack Levin would study hard. That's a lot of time.
5555 4 5 days, then you will have a problem with the gas being spent. And there's actually a table how much gas you're spending. So even without Vitalik or Ethereum Foundation doing anything, there was a problem from the very, 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 very beginning. Now the research team chose to do it, and it's fine because they felt like, well, it's still going to be good. But I would say that as soon as you could see that the gas is so expensive and Ethereum is so congested, if I was running Hex as a founder, I would just create an Arbitrum Optimism Layer 2 solution for unstakers. So people would not have to pay money for gas to unstake, and then just have Hex moved back to Ethereum without any sort of loss to the chart action or to the valuation action of Hex. So that would have been my solution, and I would say it's probably a low-hanging fruit. It's almost impossible to ignore, especially if you care about people unstaking and wasting their money. Like the chain that's in development for 2.5 years is obviously is kind of a letdown for the community, and it's just so much simpler just to address the exact problem that existed in Hex, specifically on staking cost. So that's how I would approach it, and I think they probably considered it. But again, because of lack of communication, we do not know if that was the case, if there are any issues that are being spoken against it, against that solution. So we just don't know, and that's why I feel like communication here is the key.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and I've actually what you just stated is pretty much the same thing that I've heard, more than a year, maybe 2 years now. I can't remember if it was Steph from Staker app or if it was Eric Wall in conversation, but yeah, it's the same solution I've heard in the past about if it's specifically about Hex and about the in-stake costs. I think that we did get really attached to this idea, obviously proposed by Richard about a pulse chain or about an L1, and he does like to be in absolute control of everything. So being in control in the single front person, now we do know that there's developers or that there's names that are attached to Twitter that may or may not be, lead devs and things like that. But it is alarming to me that we are we are so dependent on an individual, whether it's for communication about what's going on, or even after there is a launch of Pulsechain, where does it go? Because it is a project. It will always have development and needs, and we don't know who actually serves those needs or have accountability for it. So I'm glad that you made these comments.
Yeah, good questions. I totally agree. I would say that what Hacks community really needs to have is weekly community calls with Richard giving updates. I mean, it doesn't need to be long. It could be half an hour, but just to have the community engaged. Community will actually be stronger if the leader and the founder out there runs calls like that. It doesn't need to be 3-hour conversations with the camera. It could be just Twitter Spaces.
If you want Richard Hart to do weekly updates for 30 minutes, I want to see a 1 in the chat. I want to see a 1 in the chat. Let's go.
And say, hey, it doesn't even need to be weekly. It could be monthly. So that sort of thing could be really well received by by everyone. And of course, that sort of action gives voice to the community that currently, unfortunately, there isn't much of a voice of the community. There's just Richard's voice, and everybody's trying to to decipher what exactly is that he's saying. Can you believe it that 2 days ago when he was...
I have never once seen that many ones in the chat. I've asked a lot of ones in the chat. That has been the all-time highs has just been hit on GRC's channel for ones in the chat. My whole front end on StreamYard wouldn't even load. And then it was just like poof, ones in the chat. Oh, it's like Christmas.
On YouTube, I was in one of the Hexagon Telegram groups, and people were asking me to ask him those type of technical questions because he already blocked me, right? But those people in the Hexagon community, they felt like they couldn't actually ask the right question because they felt they're going to be ostracized by Richard or by the community for asking the pointed questions. So I did do a super chat. I did ask a question. Of course, it was not addressed, but it's just interesting and almost to a point of being silly that the person that has nothing to lose, which is myself, is asked by the community to ask Richard a question.
That's been my journey as well. I've been asking a lot of good questions, in my opinion, for 6 months or so now. And every time I get around to a good point, I have the gusto to take the hate. But come on, new YouTubers, random kids coming in, how are they supposed to take grown men call my cell phone from the Hex community and call me a scumbag? And I don't give a shit because I just am like, I know what I'm doing is right, but it is concerning to me and it hurts my heart and my spirit to know that there's other guys out there that maybe don't have the life experience I do. Like, I've dealt with a bunch of construction worker dudes and guys before. I know how to kind of take the heat, but I know it even affects me a little bit. So I can only imagine no one else being able to ask questions. I go to Jack all the time. I ask him questions all the time. Frankly, a couple times a week, really decent questions that I'm concerned about, worried about. And he answers me. And Richard used to do the same thing. Maybe not answer me directly. Sometimes actually he would. But my problem was when I found Richard Hart, he was speaking nothing but the effing facts. And then he did the flip flop. And that's what upset me because I just was like, hold on a second. I bought into this shit. Like I want intellectual freedom and decentralization too. I'm not worried about money so much. Of course, I am worried about that a little bit, but in my ideas, I wanted to feel like I was looking at the right things and moving towards the right ideas. And every time I've asked a question, frankly, I'm getting a lot of hate from the Hexicans lately, like, and to the point where I'll have 100 viewers and they won't even like my shit. I'll have a Hexican on, their favorite buddy. Yeah, and I'm like, okay, guys, like I'm trying to work with everyone here. I'm trying to do my part and be a little bit even on the other end. I like to talk about immutable smart contracts too that produce yield, but at some point, I just going to move on intellectually because of the nonsense that gets regurgitated to me from the community constantly. And when I bring it up, I seem like a dickhead because they're framed by Richard Hart to only think what he's saying is true. So everyone, when they say Jack is a scammer, they actually think Jack is a scammer. So that's a problem for Jack because he's like, oh, there's guys in the community that would reach out to me, ask questions, build, do things, and I would have a talk with them. Hey, Briz, are you listening or are you just S-ing D all day today? I mean, GRC is. I had no idea I was ripping it so hard last night. I went to bed like I forgot everything. I slept so well last night. Maybe it was because I was freedom fighting so heavy. I'm going to rewind this baby. I'm sorry. I'm impressed with myself, and I'm a pretty hard critic.
He really needs to have his weekly community calls with Richard giving updates. I mean, it doesn't need to be long. It could be half an hour. But just to have the community engaged, community will actually be stronger if the leader and the founder out there runs calls like that. It doesn't need to be 3-hour conversations with the camera. It could be just Twitter Spaces and say, hey, it doesn't even need to be weekly. It could be monthly. So that sort of thing could be really well received by by everyone. And of course, that sort of action gives voice to the community that currently, unfortunately, there isn't much of a voice of the community. There's just Richard's voice, and everybody's trying to to decipher what exactly is that he's saying. Can you believe it that 2 days ago when he was on YouTube, I was in one of the Hexagon Telegram groups, and people were asking me to ask him those type of technical questions because he already blocked me, right? But those people in the Hexagon community, they felt like they couldn't actually ask the right question because they felt they're going to be ostracized by Richard or by the community for asking the pointed questions. So I did do a super chat. I did ask a question. Of course, it was not addressed, but it's just interesting and almost to a point of being silly that the person that has nothing to lose, which is myself, is asked by the community to ask Richard a question.
That's been my journey as well. I've been asking a lot of good questions, in my opinion, for 6 months or so now. And every time I get around to a good point, I have the gusto to take the hate. But come on, new YouTubers, random kids coming in, how are they supposed to take grown men call my cell phone from the Hex community and call me a scumbag? And I don't give a shit because I just am like, I know what I'm doing is right, but it is concerning to me and it hurts my heart and my spirit to know that there's other guys out there that maybe don't have the life experience I do. Like, I've dealt with a bunch of construction worker dudes and guys before. I know how to kind of take the heat, but I know it even affects me a little bit. So I can only imagine no one else being able to ask questions. I go to Jack all the time. I ask him questions all the time. Frankly, a couple of times a week, really decent questions that I'm concerned about, worried about. And he answers me. And Richard used to do the same thing. Maybe not answer me directly. Sometimes actually he would. But my problem was when I found Richard Hart, he was speaking nothing but the effing facts. And then he did the flip flop. And that's what upset me because I just was like, hold on a second. I bought into this shit. Like I want intellectual freedom and decentralization too. I'm not worried about money so much. Of course, I am worried about that a little bit, but in my ideas, I wanted to feel like I was looking at the right things and moving towards the right ideas. And every time I've asked a question, frankly, I'm getting a lot of hate from the Hexicans lately, like, and to the point where I'll have 100 viewers and they won't even like my shit. I'll have a Hexican on, their favorite buddy. Yeah, and I'm like, okay, guys, like I'm trying to work with everyone here. I'm trying to do my part and be a little bit even on the other end. I like to talk about immutable smart contracts too that produce yield, but at some point, I just going to move on intellectually because of the nonsense that gets regurgitated to me from the community constantly. And when I bring it up, I seem like a dickhead because they're framed by Richard Hart to only think what he's saying is true. So everyone, when they say Jack is a scammer, they actually think Jack is a scammer. So that's a problem for Jack because he's like, oh, there's guys in the community that would reach out to me, ask questions, build, do things, and I would have a talk with them. He would. And Richard's saying, no, this guy's a scam artist. He's a piece of dirt and he wants to make you lose all your money. There's something wrong with that. There's a problem with that. I have a problem with that. And that's my take on that. And I do hope Richard Hart is healthy. And I do hope he mentally, because I can only imagine how hard being in that position with all the innovations with proof of stake, with all the lack of understanding that he's admitted that he has when it comes to development, being a lead and not like his devs are clearly better than him at these things. And it showed in that he didn't even know how to read their notes. So it's 100,000 lines plus of code switching from 450 lines of code. I have a feeling it's more complicated than he realizes, and he's feeling emotional distress. And I hope that all my friends are safe with their money that they spent. I spent some thousands of dollars on that, and some of that actually is in a pool with other guys. And that's fine. I'm not worried about my money in particular. But there's pools out there with hundreds of millions of dollars that are separate from the actual sacrifice address. And they did that because during the bonding curve, you would get more if you put in a larger amount. So all the guys, like, you know, all the boys get together and now, so when you're talking about reversing some of these protocols with different ideas, Trayvon had some great ideas there. And I'm like, oh boy, what about the other 300 million that's sitting in this pool and that pool and this pool, and how many different angles? And then the USD valuation was about 16 times what it is for Hex, the majority that was put into the pool at the time. So that's going to be another. My mom called me on that one. She's going on vacay. So I rugged, but I think I come back
Did
flying.
he just get rugged?
I think he's coming back. He was, yeah, his sound cut out.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm just gonna chime in one while waiting for him. And when it comes to this kind of stuff, you know, I'm not a developer, but I'm a business owner. I've been in big corporation for many, many years, and just looking into the new space that we're in when it comes to crypto and developers, I can say that ego play a big part of it. And as I watch my team progressing forward toward this space, and I see them change into the, you know, I am the best and I have done this and this is me, and, you know, call me the king, and then ego take over. And this is when the time you blinded by all of this. And when someone come and tell you the opposite of what you think in your head, all of a sudden you rejected them because you're better than them. And until we realize that we are no better than anybody, and if we don't allow ourselves to take constructive criticism from other people, then we are going to spin in a circle like a little freaking, you know, rat in a lab. And I hope that, you know, whatever happened over there with the Hex community, their leaders know better and basically take a deep breath, and maybe perhaps he should just take a deep breath and reevaluate what needs to be done, and that you know, accepting help is okay. It doesn't mean that you're weak. In a matter of fact, if you are accepting help, that just means that you are stronger to let other people know that, hey, you know, I'm not the God. You know, I know, and I need other people to help me to figure out a solution that I can't figure it out, than to allowing things to just keep on going south. And that's just how I see in a lot of community as well. So hopefully one day we'll get there. And, you know, and Jack, I like the way you think, and this is why, you know, you and I, we talk well together. I asked you difficult questions and you answer like it is. And if there's anything that I know that if I have anything at all to ask you, you will answer it like it is. And that's really truly how a developer should be, because you are developing a project. Whether you own it like a regular traditional one, or like Zen when the community owned it, it is still being popular or staying alive by the community, not by you alone. So that's my take on that.
If you're still listening, Jack, or Trayvon, either one, you want to speak up. My question is, my experience is only since 2017, and you guys both have experience, and there's a lot of people in the room have experience far beyond that. You see these cycles that, something becomes in the top 10, and then the next cycle, it's nowhere to be found. What are your opinions about whether it's based on the founders' products of Pulsechain if it launches, and PulseX, and these narratives of things that get built on top of the new L1, and Hex as well? What is your estimation about longevity, like the stick-to-itiveness? Is it all about the community, or is it about the product? Because you can gravitate around anything, but what are your thoughts?
I think community takes first place. Obviously, without the community, there is no value of anything. Product itself is an engine to generate and attract community, obviously, too. And those things need to be synchronized. So I think, was the question specifically about longevity of Hex, or just trying to interpret it properly?
We've brought together economic mass. We've brought together, community that's, whether it's people that are on camera, they make Instagram, they make TikToks, they make tweets, whatever it is. I don't really know the scale of our community, but in general, it seems like it's the most active on these platforms. So what are your thoughts about its longevity? Is this something that we have to gravitate around a product, which is Hex, and only Hex, or is it, echoing the culture that Richard puts out there? Because you were talking earlier about even Jim Rat was talking about the narrative that I remember from 2018, 19, and 20 and 21, being put out by a guy on a throne, was a different guy. That guy was a different guy to me. So I'm curious if we have enough critical mass to go.
Hey, man, props to, I don't even know if I heard this part because I think I might have been on the phone with my mother. Kind of props to Funding Jim for being, it's hard, man. Funding Jim's put a blood, sweat, and tears in this thing. And for him to just be open-minded, at least to have this conversation, is big time. And that's why he's coming on Sunday, period. And the story, Funding Jim will be on Sunday, period.
Past the founder.
I think that's definitely true. I think there is critical mass, and the Hexagon community is extremely vibrant. There's a lot of smart and passionate people in the community. I think this community needs to get more developers on board, show that the community will be there to support the developers that will be building new things on top of Hex or making Hex more valuable. Obviously, we've seen things with things like Hedron, a very interesting project. I wish actually there were maybe 10 different Hedrons that do 10 different things for Hex, because I know that the community would use those projects one way or the other. And I think it would be super fun and very satisfying for builders out there. But I think if Hex community had more of a organized representation towards the builders, then it actually would, potentially 10x, and Hex price will actually go higher too.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Hey, what's up? I just wanted to say real quick that I think this conversation is really important. I want to thank everybody for having it. I've been feeling a lot along, the lines of, you're no good in a community if you can't, say anything, or you get ostracized and all that. But Trayvon's been keeping it real in his live streams. Jack's been keeping it real, and everybody else just seems like they're too scared. Like, you got to walk on eggshells around a guy that says, freedom of speech is so important that we all sacrifice for it. But yet we have no voice.
Hold
and
on.
If you do speak, you're cut off. Like
Only Trayvon and Jack speaking their piece. Come on. I introduced Trayvon to Jack. Just kidding, though. No, for real, though. There's a lot of people out there that are willing to say their piece on this, for sure. But come on. Don't leave out the gym, right? Are you kidding?
he just says, if you talk about anything else, anything I don't want to hear about, you're cut off. But that, for me, is not real freedom of speech. And if I would have sacrificed for freedom of speech, that's like kind of different than what I would have thought that meant. So I just want to say thank you guys. I think the conversation is important. And I just want to thank you all for having it. But Jack, I do want to ask one quick question. Are you familiar with Hart's law, the things that are bonded in liquidity move together?
Yeah, I'm familiar.
So I want to ask a question real fast about Hex's liquidity was mostly paired with USD. And if USD, I could see if it's paired with Bitcoin and Bitcoin goes down a lot, obviously the pairs that it's paired with is going to go down a lot. Like Hex will go down a lot paired with Bitcoin, but paired to USD, a stable coin, why do you think it is that if Hart's law is real and things are bonded in liquidity is why they move the way that they move? Why did Bitcoin go down 75%, Hex go down, Ethereum go down 85, and Hex went down 95? It almost seems like if it would have been paired with Bitcoin or Hex, maybe it would have went down a little less. Like, why did it go down?
I'm pretty sure that I answered this question diabolically in a second, which is just props to GRC. I'm pumping my bags today, baby. Just kidding. No, but this is one of my favorite questions because I studied Richard so much when he was talking about these little liquidity points. So I don't know if Jack answered. I do remember that I said something. This was right before bed.
Down so much, paired to a stable coin. That I don't get.
So my take on it is that I don't actually buy the argument that the pairs, like the opposite coin that's paired with Hex, is somehow helping it, especially if it's a stable coin. The market forces that move things is called a beta. So beta is how quickly coins end up moving in comparison to Bitcoin, for example. So if Bitcoin moves 10%, it drops 10%. Likely the coins that have lower liquidity will move 20, 30, maybe 40%. And the reason is that the new projects, and Hex obviously is still relatively new. It's only been like 2 or 3 years, I think, compared to Bitcoin and Ethereum. What's happening there is that it acts like a option financial instrument where there's more volatility due to the lack of liquidity. So there isn't enough buyers stacked up on the buy side, and when things get rough for the market, the coins that have the least liquidity move down the fastest. They also move up the fastest as well, because it's kind of like, imagine a pipe that has very, very, very narrow radius. The water that's passed into that pipe from a larger pipe like Bitcoin actually rushes faster because it has less room to move. So that's what makes those assets so volatile. It's actually the size of the liquidity pools, not necessarily what it's paired with. So when everything goes down, everything that has lowest liquidity goes down faster. When everything goes up, everything that has lower liquidity goes up faster. So like, for example, we saw Solana move from $10 to $16. That's 16%, that's 60% move, right? So obviously Solana is not as heavily traded, doesn't have as much liquidity versus Ethereum and Bitcoin. So those are the type of forces we see. And there's like obviously other things, like for example, ApeCoin also moved like 60 or 70% in just last week. So yeah, I would say pairing is not that much of an issue. It's more of an issue of how much it's the ratio of the people's money that can affect the price divided by the liquidity. So the less liquidity you have, the more your dollars can move the price. You see what I mean?
Understood. Thanks, y'all.
Sure.
Well, the thing about Hex's liquidity that I find interesting is oh, there he
$1.3 million
goes.
of ETH pair.
I wasn't certain if I win or not. That's my bread and butter. To Hex, and that's not always been the case. And remember, guys, when you're talking about Hex, the market cap will fool you, but it has absolutely very low liquidity in comparison to where its market cap is 0%, basically. So I think when it was only paired to USDC, one person's or a few people's bank accounts could really isolate that ratio that Jack was talking about and push that price to a different degree. But now what do we see? Hedron, $2.1 million in USDC. We see DESI, $53,000 in USDC. We see ICOSA, $68,000 in USDC. We see Hex to USDC with $5.3 million in it. Altogether, that's a little over $10 million. And that is very, very low. But that is the same reason that guys like me and guys like it, because when it does a 50x, nothing really changes. The liquidity goes 3 times up. Nobody sells. And it moves faster than Bitcoin, which is more mature and has more dense liquidity. And then Ethereum would be next. It's going to move a little bit slower, have dense liquidity. Of course, there's the amount of people coming in is going to be a big ratio there. And when that goes down, the first thing to go in people's accounts is the high volatility assets. That would be the assets that have low liquidity that drop 95%. They're the first to go. And then people move up the line. So I think it's more about people wanting that asset long term and then losing faith in it. But the low liquidity is 95% dumps in crypto. Cardano jumped 99% last cycle, and then it hit all-time highs. So that can be a feature and a bug. But if you have $100 million, you're not buying Hex, period.
Yeah, well, I think ultimately $10,000 sell order on Ethereum will not Ethereum as much as it would affect Hex or Zen, just because of the liquidity. So like literally the weight of the money can push it down so much harder, so much faster. And then of course, when it's falling, everyone else's limit orders get triggered and it continues to sell. So the whole thing accelerates and it becomes kind of like this self-fulfilling cycle, so to speak, right? Where with Ethereum, people need to hold Ethereum to pay for gas, so it has this sort of natural buying pressure.
Pulse Dream, you got your hand up. You can go ahead and ask.
My work here is done. I think I got everything. I think I showed everything that was good, and I think I expressed myself in those in the space as well. At night, I'm usually sleepy. What was I smoking last night? My Lord. No, but that was awesome. I feel like there was some good conversation there. I think Sam had his take on the whole experience, which was very valuable. And it was awesome, man. That was awesome. I did a show with Tom Gillespie before we go. It was a good show. So that's the only reason after a banger like this, I wouldn't usually show anything. But my God, we tore the house down. And more to come on this front, too. More to come on this front. I'm spreading my wings. Going live with Tom Peter Gill to watch and discuss his amazing Hex documentary. Here's that. Lots of good action on that. We talked for a couple hours after, or not a couple hours, maybe a half hour, an hour. Good chap. He's a top G. My Twitter has been going bazonk. I'm getting like 100 followers a day or some schnitz. I did an amazing show with the beautiful fashion coder. It was an incredible show. Very insightful. And every day I'm all up in here. Do you guys see the thumbnail? Pulsechain V3 teaser. We'll drop that below too. Give that a retweet. I'll be back, guys. I'll be back. You know I'm going hard. I'm going hard, baby. Oh, I'm going hard. I'm going hard. Let's see how lucky I can get. Let's see how bad I am at this. Guys, have an amazing day. Crypto in the Morning is live every single day at 11 a.m. Eastern. It's a little secret sauce. We do Ethereum updates live all the time. We do things like the Merry Christmas holiday. That was a $10,000 giveaway. We talked to SBF going to prison. And we make political jokes that are funny about socialism, impermanent loss, all of these things. So have an amazing day, guys. Crypto in the Morning every single day at 11 a.m. Eastern. It's the 1 year. It's like a 1 year. I'm going to find that 1 year happy anniversary. Thanks to all my supporters. I really do appreciate it. It's been quite a journey.
You already know what time it is. Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning. Waiting on phone. Crypto in the morning. 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 Waiting on phone. Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning. Smoking no blunt on my way to the gym. 11 a.m. and I'm already tuned in. Got me some hex and I'm making a stake. Got me some heads on, I'm making it rain. Pay me some maxi and that's just in case. Jim Reddit sent me to show you the way. Crypto in the morning. 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 Crypto in the morning.
I'll be dropping 10 clips today, guys, so make sure you hit the subscribe button and you smash the bell so you get an update every time I go live, and hit the like button while you're on your way out. Have an amazing day.